So now that you learned about the history, let's talk about the steps around experiential learning. So we're going to look at the Me Too movement's website and look at their activism campaign and how they use experiential learning in their activism. So when we left off from the history section, we talked about this experiential learning circle. And here it is again, and I just want to do a quick refresher before we jump in. So remember, the circle activates the event that has happened or experience that happens to the person. The horizontal line means they're either watching or doing, and they're learning about this event. And then the vertical line represents the continuum between feeling and thinking and what they're going to do with the information that they got from this event that has happened to them. Let's talk about the experience the learner is going to have when visiting the Me Too movement website. So here we are, we're going to talk about the Me Too movement's website and its experience portion of experiential learning, which is the first part of a 4-part step. So the Me Too website utilizes experiential learning's experience portion when you immediately come to the website, it says you are not alone and join the movement, which is great because all activist movements have to have community. How else are you going to motivate and energize people? But as you scroll down, the web page changes, the back page and the picture goes away and immediately lights up. And an experience for a person to come to this website is probably either they're a survivor or they want to be an advocate or they just want to know more about this movement. So as you come here, it immediately categorizes you into survivor and advocate. If you are interested in knowing more about healing in a survivor's resource library or glossary, it's all right here. There's also an advocate section, which can help energize people and help other people help people. So this is a great way to start out with experience for the first time of experiential learning. So let's get into the next step, which is exploring our resources and giving the user as much resources as they can use. Here we are back where we left at the Me Too movement website, where our learners are divided into either looking for resources as a survivor or an advocate. Let's start with the survivor side to talk about the resources that are explored here. This is a resource library with databases for people who are dedicated to services and spaces for healing. Look at the resources. We won't look at local ones because everyone's from everywhere, but we will look at national organizations. A really cool thing is that this database has kind of a dissemination of what people need, which I think is really interesting. Another thing, when you're looking and providing resources for a learner or trying to activate someone, they have to know the other side. And there has to be 2 sides to the story, and you have to look at it in every angle for them to have a well-founded decision. As we look through this, we notice that if we go to the articles, we look at the resource articles saying Christine Blasey Ford. Obviously, a lot of people on the left and in the progressive side of America believed Christine Blasey Ford's testimony against Judge Kavanaugh. But another interesting thing that I thought was very good for experiential learning is if we load more, and we come down, all these people have articles about Me Too movement. We look at the bottom article that says Melania Trump says she supports the Me Too movement. Now, this is really good to have someone from the other side and have this kind of looked at from another angle. Because of a divided world, activism needs to be a little bit more well-researched and well-represented instead of just getting the same people. You want people who are middle of the road. And I think this really helps that someone from the Conservative Party, particularly someone whose husband has been very outspoken against the Me Too movement, says that she believes in the movement. So I think that's really interesting and a good way to show experiential learning. So let's move on to the next portion. The next part of the circle is coming to your own conclusion, creating your own idea about what has happened. So you want the learner like the Me Too movement website does, to become energized and passionate about sexual assault and violence and want to stop that in the world. So as you're trying to do this, you really need the learner to have considered all their resources, have a really good idea of what you're asking them to do, but also to talk with other people about it. Obviously on the website there's ways to get in touch, but this is where the learner needs to go out and do their own sort of understanding of the world and where they fall on the spectrum. Usually people make up their mind pretty quick about something, but for them to really become intensely ingrained and an activist about it, they have to feel passionately, and the event that brought them to this is going to really have to be something that is deep and understanding to them, like we've talked about with all learners. So it's really important to give the learner time to create their own conclusion and to understand what it is. But your work as an activist is not done yet. So we are about to step into the next phase of activism and experiential learning. Movement website, where we're going to discuss advocacy and how to duplicate what you have learned and the conclusion you've come to. So for advocates, I think the most important part is the toolkits. Of course, there's a resource library for advocates, but really what experiential learning has a little bit different from other learning theories is this last part of duplicating it and reviewing it and using what you've used over and over again. So a lot of activists kind of forget that the user and the learner is going to want to explore and put this out. So how can you help them in the best way? So the best part about this are these downloadable toolkits talking about the different parts of the Me Too movement that are really important and how you can help other people as an advocate to duplicate the work that is being done in the movement. And there are a bunch of different toolkits that are really helpful and span kind of the different parts of the advocacy for the Me Too movement. So I thank you all for sticking together, and I hope you learned something about the Me Too movement and experiential learning theory.